In this video, you're about to see Mark get my car ready for round 1 of Lone Star Drift, which is April 8th and 9th at the Houston Police Academy. Here's our whole schedule. You can zoom in. I will see you at the Police Academy.
All right, so the work is done on my car, and I'm starting on Aaron's now for round 1. I kind of already did a bunch of work. I just finished this video on my car, so I assume, ow, you gotta watch for hanging stuff. Anyway, so I assume that no one wants to see me pull a transmission in and out twice in the same span of video, so I didn't really record that one. It's the same thing. The T56 comes out similarly, goes back in the same way. So I'm waiting on, again, a drive shaft for this. That'll be here later today, I think. But right now, I have to take care of that problem. This brake caliper is leaking. I think it's actually the caliper itself, like between the in and the outside. So I gotta dig into that, see what's going on there. I'm thinking about putting the Z diff in this thing before round 1, but I'm not 100% on that one yet. Yeah, everything else seems good. I kind of did a quick nut and bolt. This thing doesn't have a bunch of adjustable arms, so there's not a lot to be loose as far as adjustment goes. But these tension rods were loose on both sides. All right, well, let's get started on getting the wheel off and getting this brake looked at, see what's going on. All right, so it looks like it's just this seal leaking. So what I might do is, instead of getting a new caliper or warrantying this one out, which I think it does have a warranty on it, but instead of doing that, I might just get a rebuild kit and show you guys how to rebuild this. That is it for tonight, I guess. I can't really do anything. I don't have a repair kit or a caliper here. All right, so I've got the brake off, which is boring, showing Tristan here how to rebuild a caliper as well as you guys. I kind of cheated already just to make sure that it was going to work out well. I did this one already that was leaking, but we have the other side. So I'm going to pull this one apart and show you guys and Tristan here how to rebuild a caliper, because it's not as scary as most people think. All right, so the fun part, making sure that only one piston comes out without hurting myself. All you do is just apply a little air. Not that much. Boom. Piston pops out. On these ones, you got to make sure this other piston doesn't try to pop out, which we're good. And then the seal just comes off. This ring that holds that gasket on there comes off. And then we have a seal inside here. But looks pretty good in there. There's some gunk and buildup. We'll just use brake cleaner for what it's actually for. Brake parts. And you want to make sure it's nice and clean in there. Make sure there's any junk that's in it's out. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and blow it out. Alright, so important bit is you don't use any lubricants to lubricate these things. You lubricate them with brake fluid. Reason being is you don't want to contaminate the brake fluid in the caliper in your system with some kind of grease or something that could potentially melt and get into the system and affect your braking performance, or could, you know, degrade these seals. There we go. I'll check out the piston for any kind of damage. I'm sure these are fine because they were fairly new. Looks pretty good to me. There's some damage to it, which is weird, but Nothing that's in the sealing surface. Yeah, nothing too bad. So we'll lube this guy up with brake fluid as well. And you want to make sure it goes in straight. Goes all the way down. Now, grab the air again. I want to give it just a little bit. Try to get it to come out a little bit. Almost too much. And then we just gotta put this guy. Make sure this guy seals all the way around there. Push the piston back in. Work this guy around. Be careful if you use picks because you can always stab a hole through it like I might have just done. Nope, I didn't do it. Okay. There we go. Got it. Now is the retaining ring, which again is a pain. Got it. And that's that. Rebuilt, new seals, new gaskets, ready to go back on the car. Alright, so I'm cheating a bit. I already bled the thing with that power bleeder. It's super nice. You just hook it up, pressurize it, crack this thing open, and it'll just bleed until you stop seeing air come out, and then you cap it off. And now here's the tricky part. I want to make sure, I know this is ghetto, but I want to make sure that this guy isn't leaking. So what I'm doing is putting something in here that I can see, because I put the brake pad in, I can't see. And then I have Tristan in the car, and he's going to pump the brakes up a couple times, then hold it. And while he's holding it, we're going to make sure it's not leaking. So you want to go ahead and do that, Tristan? All right, hold it. All right, so he's holding pressure on everything, and I don't see any fluid. That's a real good sign. Yeah, looks good. I don't see any fluid coming out, so we're gonna call that a win. I'm gonna go ahead and put this all back together. You can let go, Tristan. Get all this back together and move on to the next task. All right, so there was a mix-up at the drive shaft shop, and the drive shaft didn't get done, but hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. So in the meantime, I figured that I would go ahead and throw this thing in there. So I'm gonna get it pulled apart and prepped because it's an open. See how they spin opposite ways there, and that front's not spinning. Anyways, it's an open. I'm gonna pull it apart, clean it out, get it welded, and get the bushings pushed out, new ones put in it, and get this thing prepped to take this thing. All right, so I got it open. The fluid that was in here was kind of nasty, but it doesn't look too bad. There's some buildup and things, but like there's no missing teeth, there's no metal shavings, so it's a good candidate for a welding. Now I just have to clean this guy up and throw some welds in there. All right, guys, so I finally got the drive shaft in, and I did just a test run through the gears, make sure everything worked, and it does. So now I need to finish that guy and get it up in here. Get rid of this S14 one and stop breaking them. So luckily I've got all this beat up so I can get to these bolts and everything nicely. But I gotta pull this back out and just shift this guy completely out of the way there. It's easier than getting up in the car and taking it down. So I'm gonna get to that right now. All right, of course, as soon as I cut the time lapse out, the thing just pops right out. So I got the bushing out. I don't have to take this one out. It only requires one for this diff. So I got the bushing out, I got it all cleaned up. I have the bushing in the freezer, shrinking. I got the other bushings out of the front of the diff. Now I just need to pull, I got this all cleaned up, that surface on that drive shaft cleaned up. I just need to pull this off, mark it on that drive shaft where the holes need to be, put on the drill press, drill some holes in it, and it's good to go. Put it back on, and then just fill this thing up, seal it up, put it up in there, fill it up when it's level. I've got the flange off of here. I already marked it, kind of cheated. But luckily that internal flange is the exact same on the Z as it is the 240. So it centers itself up on that. So it takes that guesswork out of making sure it's centered on there. What I do after that is I get it centered, and then I find about halfway between the bolt holes that are already there. Just come through with a Sharpie and mark them. Just like that. And they're not quite halfway. I might move it, try again. But I learned last time I did this, you have to have a good bit. And I do not have a good bit right at the moment because I ruined it last time doing this. So I'm gonna go grab a good bit. And this drill press helps a lot. I don't know if you can do it by hand, but it would be miserable to try. When I get back, I'll have this whole jig set up and you guys can watch me hopefully not fail. Ta-da! The diff is in. There's some footage missing of this bushing going in because I lost my cool for a minute. I couldn't get the bushing to go in at all, and then finally once it started to go in, it was going in like super crooked. I actually, I don't know where it went to because I tossed it. That's bushing number 2. Luckily I had a spare from mine because when I did mine, I had a different kind of bushing back here already and it was welded to the subframe. So I just cut the subframe and like moved this to fit the diff. So I had the spare bushing. So luckily I had the spare one. So I destroyed the other one. And then this one went in like butter. No idea why, what the difference was. Maybe because I didn't immediately hammer on it to get it in because I thought it would push in like these other ones did. Because these are like tight, but you could definitely just push them in by hand. I assume this one was similar, probably a little tighter so it doesn't come out the front side. But it's in there now. I'm okay. Everything's okay. The drive shaft fits. There's not like an excess amount. It did kind of, this did sit back a little bit, but not too terribly much. So I had enough room built into the drive shaft for that. And these are already 350Z axles because we had the Villains kit on the, that one's stuck. We had the Villains kit on the S14 diff to run Z axles. That's why we haven't really had any axle problems, only diff problems. Although now that we have a diff that's not gonna break, maybe we'll have axle problems. Cross our fingers, we don't. But like I said, it's in. I just have to button up putting the axles on, finish tightening down the drive shaft flange here, and then fight with this exhaust to get it to go back on because it's sicky. But they work, so like there's no reason to buy new ones. It's not like I'm pulling them off every day. Anyways, maybe record some footage of me putting this together, but like honestly, who really wants to see people tightening things on time lapse a million times? So I will get to it, and ow, again, watch for hanging things. I'll get to it and get back with you guys when it's done. Well, I gotta admit, I actually really like the way Aaron's car sounds. It sounds like it's making the kind of power that mine is making, which is more than this one. It's funny, but I'm about to run down the road with it real quick and just grab some gas in it. It was acting like it was kind of low. And then Aaron's car is good to go. So I'll just need to wash it, but no one needs to see that again. You know, I didn't have the side skirts off, so it's all dirty there. I washed it in the dark so I couldn't see anything. But I'm gonna end it there. This is ready to go. See everybody at round one.
Huge shout out to all these sponsors such as BC Racing Custom Coilovers, NK Wheels, Grip Royal, KBD Body Kits, Heatwave Visual, Spec Clutch, Vapetasia, Valino Tires, and of course, WhatMonstersDo.com with their all new logo. Go to their website and use that discount code. Thanks everybody. Have a good day.